What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with a Star Wars comic book market update. We're going to take a look at CGC 9.8 graded key issue comics, also the vintage run all the way through to the modern issues. I even got some autographed items in here that all sold recently. I tried to pick, I think almost all of these are auctions because the comic book market is down. As the title of this thumbnail says, are Star Wars key comics heating up or are they flaming out? And in general, prices are coming down, and now's a really great time to be picking up key issues because prices are the lowest they've been probably in at least 9 months for the most part. There are some exceptions, as we'll cover. But I wanted to cover kind of everything that's sold here recently. And wow, there were some gems in here, some stuff that you don't usually see. And especially some of the autographed items I thought were pretty cool. So I think I just want to kind of give you an update of what's out there, and to be careful of how you spend your money if you are a comic book collector, because the market is very dicey right now. And I try to only focus on auctions versus buy it nows because you can find some really good deals out there. So let's dig in. The first one is Star Wars #1. CGC 9.8 with white pages, obviously where it all started. Great looking example here. The colors were nice and vibrant on this one. Brand new case style, and this one was a buy it now situation. This one did sell for $38.50, and we just talked about one in a recent Comic Link auction, I think 2 of them actually, where the range of prices was between $3,500 and $3,800. So this one finished at the upper end of the scale. $38.50 plus $14.95 shipping, and that seems to be kind of the going rate for brand new case styles. The one that sold for $3,400 on Comic Link did have an older case style, so that one was a little bit lower. This one looked pretty good. It was maybe just slightly miswrapped along the lower spine there, but pretty clean overall. Really nice looking example. Definitely stay under $4,000. That's a lot of money for one comic book, but you got to remember this one was approaching $5,000 last year, and it's slowly working its way down. I hope it continues to go down, so maybe it can be more affordable. And I would have to still save up quite a bit of money to get one of these, but this was definitely on my short list. Great looking example though, $38.50, $14.95 shipping. Some other kind of secondary keys from the original Marvel run, Star Wars #7. We've talked about this one at length in the past, and this one actually sold for $288.01. This is the first expanded universe comic, Star Wars #7. 1 through 6 was the movie adaptation for A New Hope. This is a great looking copy though, and this one bumped up just a little bit. This one I've seen as low as $230, but this one did sell again for $288 plus shipping. And the same seller also had a Star Wars #8, which is the first appearance of Jackson. And another great cover, and this one sold for $217.50, which is another great price. This one was up around $600 to $650 at its market peak, kind of right around when the Black Series kind of comic book version of Jackson sold. This book started really peaking right around that price of $600, but it's been slowly working its way down, and now's a really good time to pick this one up. Again, it's not like a big key relative to like Star Wars 1 or Star Wars 42 or 68, but you know, this is on that next rung down in terms of key issues. But $217.50 I think was a great price on this one. Now here's one we don't talk about often because it's so rare in a 9.8 grade. 9.8 with white pages, Star Wars Annual #3. There are only 36 of these on the census, so it's a very, very tough one to get in a high grade because of the black cover. It's got a black border on the left-hand side. It was slightly miswrapped, but it's a great cover, Star Wars Annual, that shows Darth Vader kind of reaching his hand out. I'm assuming that this is recreating maybe the image where during the battle on Bespin, when Luke was on that kind of long bridge out on the chasm, and Darth Vader says, "Hey, I'm your father. Come with me. Join me on the dark side." And that's kind of what he's doing there. And it's just such a great image, and it's a very, very rare book. I've only seen a few of these come up over the last year or so. The last one that sold for over $900, if memory serves. It might have been $899. But this one with the miswrap, it was listed for $750. I did receive an offer for $700. I couldn't swing it, although I really would like to have it in my collection. And there were like 7 watchers within about 12 hours of this one getting listed. So I knew it was going to sell, and it certainly did. As soon as that offer was made for $700, it sold very quickly. Now, it says it sold for $750, but I'm pretty sure it sold for $700, which was the offer I received from the seller. But if you ever see this one come up, be on the lookout for it, because it's very rare, very desirable. The interior of the comic, in terms of the contents, there's nothing really major that happens in the book, but it's kind of just a timeless classic cover, very simple cover. And this cover was done by Klaus Janson. And wow, look at that cover. That's just an awesome example. And again, there's only 36 of them on the census, so you're going to be paying big money for it. But that one did sell for around $700. Next up, I've got a CBCS 9.8 of Heir to the Empire #1, and that just shows you the discount that you'll get for some of these key issue books in a 9.8 grade if you're willing to take a CBCS versus a CGC 9.8. So obviously this is the first appearance of Grand Admiral Thrawn, and this one sold for $685 in an auction on 57 bids, free shipping. Great looking copy. And, you know, a CGC 9.8 will set you back closer to $800 to $900. That's the going rate right now for a CGC 9.8 for Heir to the Empire #1. But this CBCS did sell for $685 on 57 bids. So lots of action on that one. And, you know, I personally don't collect CBCS comics, but the cases in general do not get Newton rings. So that's one big positive. So whatever CBCS is doing, CGCS needs to kind of learn from them, because their inner well liners, even on some of the brand new books that are just graded by CGC, they continue to be plagued by those oil slick looking Newton rings that do appear on the front of the books. So that's the one big negative about CGC books. But CGC books in general, they tend to command a higher price premium. It's like looking at the price premium sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes between UKG and CAS graded items versus AFA graded items. An AFA 90 is almost always going to sell more for a Star Wars loose graded action figure than a CAS 90 or a UKG 90. Not always the case, but most of the time that seems to be the case. And the same story for CBCS comics versus CGC books. And, you know, that's a pretty big discount, going from $685 free shipping versus $800 to $900 for a CGC graded book in the same, you know, for the same book. Next up, this seller had a number of really nice kind of secondary keys that sold, and this is Star Wars Republic #52. This is the first cover appearance of Asajj Ventress. Her first comic book appearance, obviously, is the Mace Windu one-shot that came out a little bit earlier. But this is a great cover. It shows Dirge the Bounty Hunter along with, you know, Asajj Ventress there. And this one sold for $142 and change on 25 bids plus $12 shipping. So about $155, and that's about the right price for this one, $150 or so all in for this book, Star Wars 52. And again, if you're going to pick one of them, get Star Wars Mace Windu, which is the one-shot, again, with her first appearance. That one's closer to $280 to $350, somewhere in that ballpark. But if you don't want to spend that much money, this is a nice alternative in a CGC 9.8 grade. Knights of the Old Republic #9. This is the first full appearance of Revan. And I always thought that the cover depicted Revan. But I was corrected on that one by somebody who watched the channel, and I did look it up. And in fact, this is not Revan on the cover, but I still love the cover. I don't care what anyone says. I mean, I still think it's a great cover. I don't know who it is because I've never read the book. I do have it in my collection, but it's encased in acrylic carbonite, so I have not read it. But I do love the cover, and it's a great book. First full appearance of Revan. And this one sold in an auction for $642 plus $16 shipping. That's a pretty good target to aim for. You might get it even as low as $600 if you're lucky, but this one did sell, again, for $642 plus $16 shipping. This is another one that peaked for well over $1,000 during the height of the comic book market bubble, but it's come way down. So $600 to $650 is about the right number for KOTOR #9. Next up, Clone Wars #1. I've already talked about this one at length, but I did get another data point in an auction where it sold recently. Obviously, this is the first appearance of Ahsoka as well as Captain Rex in comics, and this one sold for $20.25 on 11 bids plus $15 shipping. Now, I've seen a recent high of $2,400, and obviously we got the new Ahsoka series coming out, so that has really bumped this book up over the last 6 months. Back in December when I picked up mine, the going rate was $1,600, maybe $1,700. Now the going rate is around $2,000. So if you're not willing to wait until the Ahsoka series is come and gone, you're going to have to pay a little bit more money right now, about $2,000. You might get lucky and get it sub $2,000, but I guarantee you, if you wait until probably maybe late fall or winter after the Ahsoka series is come and gone, I think the last Ahsoka episode, based on the schedule that has been released, it starts in August, and I think it runs through sometime in October. So try to aim to, if you're looking to get this book in a 9.8 grade, try to wait until November, December, maybe even early January of next year. And me personally, I bet this book is right back down into that $1,600 to $1,800 range once the Ahsoka series is come and gone. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But in general, that seems to be kind of the arc with prices on some of these key issue books, like the big keys, where the character depicted in the key, the first appearance in the key, it usually comes back down after whatever movie or series has come and gone. And right now, this one has already come back down a little bit. I mean, $2,200 to $2,400 was the going rate. Now this one sold for $2,025. And again, I bet this book will kind of start to trickle back down in price. But great looking book. I love it, and I'm glad I got it when I did, but right now is not a great time to get it. Some other Clone Wars books. Clone Wars #2. This one sold for $239 in a buy it now situation. Again, you might get this one closer to $180 to $220, somewhere in that ballpark. So this one isn't too far off of market price, but this is one I would like to get eventually. It's not high on my list just because it's not a super key issue. It is the second appearance of Ahsoka in comics, but it's obviously not nearly as desirable as Clone Wars #1. But that one did sell again for $240 free shipping. But I think if you're patient and wait for an auction, you might get it closer to $200 or so, maybe even $180. Next up, Clone Wars #6. This is another one I really like, and this one sold for a great price, $134.50. plus $12 shipping, and I like this cover better than Clone Wars #2, but obviously it's a later appearance of Ahsoka, but how she's depicted in the cover art is much better than in Clone Wars #2, where she's kind of cowering behind Obi-Wan and Anakin. But great looking book, $134.50. I think that was a bargain. Next up, Clone Wars #8, the first appearance of Clone Commander Wolf, and it shows kind of Asajj Ventress getting ready to stab down with her lightsaber onto Plo Koon. And that one sold for $140 plus $12 shipping. Another great price there. This one's kind of $175-ish usually, so I think that was a good price, $140 and change for that one. Next up, I've got two different Darth Vader #3s that sold. First is the first print, cover A. That one sold for $227.50, and that's about the going rate. They all seem to be going right around $225 or so. But here was the rarer third print. With the green background. This one doesn't come up that often in an auction. Usually it's listed in a buy it now situation for around $325. This one sold in an auction for $264. That's the lowest price I've seen for the third print of Darth Vader #3 in a long time. And that's a much lower print run than either cover A for the first print or the second print, and there's a lot fewer of these on the census. So if you got the money for it, look at Darth Vader #3 or even the fourth print instead of the third print. The fourth print is going to set you back closer to $600 usually, but the third print at $264, that's a great price. Next up, we got some of the Canon keys. This is Canon the Last Padawan #5 in a 9.8 grade. This is the second cameo appearance of the Rebels team. It's not that great of a cover, and that's why it's not that desired. But I think I had this one in my what to buy video, and I said you might get lucky and get this for around $75. And that's what it sold for. It sold for $78 plus $12 shipping. And another one sold almost at the exact same time for $58 plus $12 shipping. So this was a great buy, $70 all in for the item plus shipping. That's a pretty good buy for the second cameo appearance. So if you don't want to spend the big money on either Canon #1 or this book, Canon #6, then you can get Canon #5. Canon #6, this one sold in an auction for $355. Again, that's a pretty good price. $350 to $375 is about the going rate for the first full appearance of the Rebels team. And of all the different Canon books, this is obviously the best one and the most expensive. Canon #1 is going for around $175. That's kind of second on the list versus Canon #6, which is the first full appearance of the Rebels team and depicts the entire team on the cover and certainly the most desirable. But there's some other kind of minor keys within the Canon run, which is about 12 issues. But I would look at this one first and then go from there. Next up is a very tough to find 1:25 ratio variant for Darth Maul #2. This is the first appearance of Cad Bane in comics. It's got such a dark black cover. This is a David Aja cover. And Aja, I don't know how you pronounce his name, but this is the 1:25. So for every 25 of the standard cover A of Darth Maul #2, only one of these was made. And much fewer of these in a 9.8 grade on the Census. Great looking cover of Darth Maul there. And it's just such a dark cover. It shows every little defect on the cover. And that's why it goes for so much money. This one sold for $618. During the height of the comic book market boom, this was going for closer to $1,000, if not higher. So $618 in the current environment is probably about right. But probably more than I want to spend on Cad Bane's first appearance because, you know, who knows if he ever comes back. I assume he probably will. He died, quote unquote, in the Book of Boba Fett, but I think he'll come back at some point, either in maybe season 4 of The Mandalorian or some other kind of content. But $618 is just a little bit more money than I want to spend for, admittedly, a very rare comic. But great looking cover there. I absolutely love the simple kind of clean lines of that cover. But wow, that's a lot of money. Some Thrawn keys other than Heir to the Empire. We've got Thrawn #1, the standard cover A. That one sold for $154. That's a little higher than where I've seen this one trading usually. Usually this was kind of closer to $125. But that's the origin of Grand Admiral Thrawn, and obviously we know he's coming to the Ahsoka series. And everything I've read, all the kind of the rumor mill type websites, they all say that Grand Admiral Thrawn is going to become the next big villain that's going to cross over between not only Disney Plus series, but potentially in an Heir to the Empire movie. And $154, I think, is a good time to buy it right now before Grand Admiral Thrawn gets pushed in a major way by Lucasfilm and Disney into future content. The other one that I think, well, before I dig into the next one I wanted to talk about, the Thrawn #1, the JTC cover, this one sold for $158, and that's kind of about right, I would say. This one kind of peaked around $200 to $250 and has been slowly coming back down. But I wanted to point this one out because the John Tyler Christopher action figure cover for Dr. Aphra, that's only going for like $40 or $50 right now. And I think that if and when Dr. Aphra makes her appearance in live action content, her book will probably have a similar price arc versus, relative to what the Grand Admiral Thrawn JTC cover did. So while it's $40 or $50 right now, now's a pretty good time to get that Aphra action figure cover because it's so cheap. And it'll probably mirror what happened with Grand Admiral Thrawn's book, where it's now going for $158. So the other big Thrawn book I wanted to cover is this one. This is Thrawn #6. This is the first time that Grand Admiral Thrawn meets Darth Vader in comic books. And while that's kind of like not a huge key, this one sold for $120, and that's the cheapest price I've actually seen in a long time. Usually this book goes for more than Thrawn #1, believe it or not. There's fewer of them on the Census, and it also does have the first appearance of Admiral Arlani, which is kind of the leader of the Chiss Ascendancy. And if Thrawn does make major kind of contributions to future Disney Plus content, I would imagine they'll probably dig into the Chiss Ascendancy to some degree. And so this is the book to get. And to get it for $120, that's a great price. It's a great cover, too. I mean, it shows Darth Vader on the cover. And Darth Vader has been confirmed. Hayden Christensen has been confirmed to be coming to the new Ahsoka series. So I think we will probably see some sort of Thrawn-Vader interaction. They didn't like each other very much in the Timothy Zahn novels. They're kind of like in a they're kind of in a battle for resources in the books from Emperor Palpatine. So I don't know how they'll play it out in the live action content, but I do think that this is a great book to get. This one and Thrawn #1 are two great books to get. But $120, that was a great buy. Next up, I've got some autographed items to finish things out. This is a magazine. This is a Titan Publishing Star Wars The Clone Wars official collector's edition. This is the standard cover A, signed by Ashley Eckstein. Great looking cover. This one sold for $250 plus shipping. And then here was the virgin cover, which is much more desirable. It's a beautiful cover, virgin cover for this exact same book. It's a one-shot that covers the Clone Wars that came out in January of 2022. This one sold for $510 on 34 bids, so that's a big number, but Ashley Eckstein really knows how to sign things, and this is just a beautiful virgin cover with Ahsoka there, and to have her signature in a 9.8 signature series label from CGC, that's a very desirable item. $510, again, took that one home. Here was an Adam Driver signed Rise of Kylo Ren. This seller had 10 of them available, and 6 of them have sold in buy it now situations for about $550. So great looking cover, and Adam Driver doesn't sign nearly as many items as Ashley Eckstein does, so you're going to pay a lot more for this one. But anyway, this seller does still have 4 available, and they are $550. And then this one, you know, to me, this one, I wouldn't pay this price, but it is a pretty cool looking cover. Star Wars Hidden Empire, signed by Emilia Clarke. Anyway, this one sold for $888. I mean, I know she doesn't do a lot of signings, but that just seems like a lot of money. But this seller had 13 of them available, and 7 of them have sold. To me, I would much rather have Adam Driver's Kylo Ren book there. That one's a much cleaner, cooler looking cover than this one. But anyway, that's what it sold for. 7 of them have sold, 6 still available at $888. That's a lot of money. And then finally, we had a Tamura Morrison War of the Bounty Hunters. This is the John Tyler Christopher negative space kind of books that he does. He does it for a lot of the key characters within the Star Wars universe. And this is the one he did for War of the Bounty Hunters #4 that features Boba Fett. So pretty cool looking example there, signed by Tamura Morrison. And, you know, again, I don't know if it's worth this price, but it sold for $356. This one in just a standard CGC 9.8 graded goes for around $100, $125. So somebody was willing to pay up a little bit more to get his autograph on there. But pretty cool looking book. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth buying some of these modern books that have been autographed, but I guess if you collect autographs, you got to pay the piper versus going to like a CGC show or a private signing to get it done. But $356 plus $20 shipping took that one home. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back soon.